Let me tell you something that most seniors never hear in a doctor's office. After 50, drinking plain water can actually slow effective blood flow, not improve it, if you are drinking it the wrong way. That sounds impossible. We are told our entire lives that water automatically improves circulation, but the science tells a very different story. Once the body ages past 50, blood behaves differently. Plasma volume drops, nitric oxide production falls sharply, red blood cells become less flexible. When plain water enters this system without the right signals, it can temporarily dilute electrolytes, reduce vascular response, and fail to trigger the blood vessel relaxation needed for proper flow. That is why so many seniors drink water all day and still experience cold hands, heavy legs, dizziness, brain fog, and afternoon fatigue. The water is going in, the circulation response is not following. What stunned researchers is that small, specific changes to how water is consumed increased measurable blood flow within 5 to 30 minutes, sometimes outperforming pharmaceutical vasodilators in short-term testing. No pills, no prescriptions, just smarter hydration strategies. I'm Dr. Markus Dexter. I have spent over a decade working with older adults on cardiovascular and circulatory health. Today I am sharing 5 simple but rarely discussed water-based strategies, ranked from least to most powerful, that I now recommend to every patient over 50 who comes to me with cold extremities, fatigue, brain fog, or poor circulation before we ever discuss medications. Stay with me for all 5. Because the number one trick on this list is the one almost nobody does correctly, and it takes less than 60 seconds. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, do you drink plain water all day, but still deal with cold hands, heavy legs, or afternoon fatigue? Just type yes. I read every single comment, and your answers shape every video I make after this one. Before the 5 tricks, you need to understand what is happening inside your circulatory system, because once you see it, everything that follows will make immediate sense. Your blood is not simply liquid. It is a complex suspension of cells, proteins, minerals, and hormones moving through a network of vessels whose inner walls, the endothelium, are biologically active. Healthy endothelial cells produce nitric oxide, the molecule that signals blood vessels to relax and dilate. When nitric oxide production is robust, vessels open wider, blood flows easily, and oxygen delivery to muscles, organs, and the brain is efficient. After 50, 3 things change simultaneously. First, nitric oxide synthase, the enzyme that produces nitric oxide, becomes less active. Vessels dilate less readily. Blood pressure tends to rise because the vessels cannot relax as they once did. Second, blood viscosity increases slightly as red blood cells lose some of their deformability. Thicker blood requires more cardiac effort to push through the capillary network, particularly in the hands, feet, and brain. Third, total plasma volume decreases. You have proportionally less fluid in the circulatory system. The kidneys become less efficient at retaining water, and the thirst mechanism, the signal that tells you to drink, becomes blunted. Many seniors are in a state of mild chronic dehydration without ever feeling thirsty. Plain water addresses only the third problem. It adds fluid volume, but it does nothing for nitric oxide production. It does nothing for blood viscosity beyond simple dilution. And when consumed without the right accompanying minerals, it can actually dilute the electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, that govern how well your vascular smooth muscle contracts and relaxes. The result, hydrated by volume, but not by function. The water is going in. The circulation response is not following. This distinction between volumetric hydration and functional vascular hydration is the entire point of what follows. And it is a distinction that almost never gets explained in a 15-minute clinical appointment. Trick number 5, completely free, requires 0 preparation, and more physiologically significant than most people realize. The temperature of water and the timing of when you drink it, relative to meals and activity, directly affects how quickly it is absorbed into the bloodstream and how rapidly it influences plasma volume and vascular response. Research on water absorption rates found that room temperature water, approximately 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, is absorbed significantly faster than cold water. Cold water triggers a mild vasoconstrictive response in the gastrointestinal tract, slowing absorption and temporarily reducing blood flow to peripheral vessels. For seniors already dealing with reduced circulation, this transient vasoconstriction is counterproductive. Timing matters equally. Drinking water in the 15 minutes before physical activity, even light walking, maximizes the plasma volume expansion effect. When plasma volume is higher before activity, cardiac output is more efficient, vessels dilate more readily, and circulation to the extremities improves measurably. Studies on pre-exercise hydration in older adults showed that drinking 250 to 300 milliliters of room temperature water 15 minutes before activity produced measurable increases in peripheral blood flow, compared to drinking the same amount immediately before or during activity. The practical change is this: replace cold or refrigerated water with room temperature water throughout the day, and drink a full glass 15 minutes before any planned movement, even a short walk around the block. This single change costs nothing. It simply requires awareness of temperature and timing. That is trick 5, the foundation. Everything that follows builds on it. Trick number 4. This is where the real mechanism shift begins, and this is the one that most directly explains why some seniors feel worse, not better, after increasing their water intake. Plain water consumed in large amounts dilutes serum electrolyte concentrations. Specifically, it lowers sodium, potassium, and magnesium levels in the blood plasma. These 3 minerals are not optional extras. They are the electrical signals that govern vascular smooth muscle function. Potassium and magnesium are direct vasodilators. They activate the same pathways that pharmaceutical calcium channel blockers attempt to activate through entirely natural mechanisms. When these minerals are diluted by plain water intake without replacement, vascular tone increases. Vessels stay slightly contracted rather than relaxing fully. The endothelium becomes less responsive to the flow-mediated dilation signals it depends on. The solution is simple and costs almost nothing. Add a small pinch of high-quality sea salt, not table salt, which is stripped of trace minerals, to each liter of water you drink. Sea salt contains trace amounts of over 80 minerals, including potassium, magnesium, calcium, and zinc, alongside the sodium. This is not about adding large amounts of sodium. A single pinch per liter raises mineral content by a small but physiologically meaningful amount that changes how your vessels respond. Alternatively, add a slice of fresh lemon, which contributes potassium and triggers a mild alkalizing response that supports endothelial function. Or dissolve a small amount of coconut water into your daily intake for natural potassium without added sugar. Research published in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that electrolyte-enhanced water produced significantly better improvements in vascular conductance and exercise blood flow in older adults compared to plain water. The vessels responded more readily. Peripheral circulation improved. The difference was not in how much water people drank, it was in what the water contained. This is the change I introduce first with almost every patient who comes to me reporting fatigue and cold extremities despite adequate water intake. It is that reliable. If this is already changing how you think about hydration, hit subscribe now. I release evidence-based health content for people over 60 every single week. The next 3 tricks are the most powerful ones on the list. Let's keep going. Trick number 3. Hibiscus tea is one of the most extensively studied natural vasodilators in clinical literature, but almost nobody drinks it for circulation. And almost nobody knows that drinking it as a lightly diluted, cooled, infused water rather than a hot tea dramatically changes its bioavailability and how quickly it works. The active compounds in hibiscus flowers, anthocyanins and organic acids, particularly hibiscic acid, directly stimulate nitric oxide production in endothelial cells. This is the missing piece in the senior circulation equation. Plain water does not stimulate nitric oxide. Hibiscus water does. It activates the same fundamental mechanism that many prescription vasodilators attempt to replicate. A randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Nutrition found that 3 cups of hibiscus tea daily reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 7 points in pre-hypertensive adults over an 8-week period. The confirmed mechanism was endothelial nitric oxide stimulation, the exact pathway that aging compromises. A separate study found acute blood flow improvements within 30 minutes of consumption. Here's how to prepare hibiscus water for maximum circulatory benefit. Steep 4 to 5 dried hibiscus flowers, available at most health food stores or online, in 500 milliliters of boiling water for 10 minutes. Allow it to cool to room temperature. Add a pinch of sea salt and half a teaspoon of raw honey if desired. Drink 1 to 2 glasses per day, not hot, not iced, at room temperature for maximum absorption. The deep red color of the water indicates anthocyanin concentration. The deeper the burgundy, the higher the active compound content. Aim for a rich, deep red, not a pale pink. Pale pink means weak infusion and weak effect. 1 to 2 glasses daily is the practical target. Consistent daily use builds the endothelial benefit over time, but the acute blood flow response can be felt within 30 minutes of your first glass if the infusion is properly prepared. Trick number 2. This combination, consumed specifically within 10 minutes of waking, has a disproportionate effect on morning circulation that makes it the second most powerful strategy on this list. Here's why morning timing is so critical. The cardiovascular system is at its most vulnerable in the first 60 to 90 minutes after waking. Cortisol surges. Blood viscosity is at its highest after 7 to 8 hours without fluid. Platelet aggregability, the tendency of platelets to cluster together, peaks in the morning hours. This window carries the highest cardiac event risk of the entire 24-hour cycle. Most circulatory events in seniors, strokes, heart attacks, DVT episodes, cluster between 6 and 10 in the morning for exactly these reasons. Warm water immediately upon waking begins thinning the blood and restoring plasma volume before cortisol peaks. The addition of fresh lemon juice adds vitamin C, a direct cofactor in nitric oxide synthesis, and citric acid, which supports red blood cell health and iron absorption. Fresh grated ginger adds gingerols and shogals, compounds with documented antiplatelet activity. Research published in Thrombosis Research found that ginger consumption significantly reduced platelet aggregation, the clumping that increases stroke and clot risk, in healthy adults. The effect was dose-dependent and rapid, occurring within 90 minutes of consumption. Some studies have found the antiplatelet effect comparable to low-dose aspirin without the gastrointestinal side effects. The protocol is specific. Immediately upon waking, before coffee, before food, before anything else, drink 250 milliliters of warm water. Not hot, not cold, warm. Add the juice of half a fresh lemon and half a teaspoon of freshly grated or powdered ginger. Drink it slowly over 5 minutes. This is not a detox ritual. This is targeted vascular support using compounds your body already knows how to process. The 10-minute window after waking is the precise moment when your circulatory system most needs this signal, and it takes less time than making coffee. Trick number 1. The most powerful strategy on this list, the least known, and the one that most directly addresses the nitric oxide deficiency that drives poor circulation after 50. Dietary nitrates, found in specific foods, are converted in the body to nitric oxide through a two-step process involving oral bacteria and stomach acid. This is the same fundamental pathway compromised by aging. Dietary nitrates essentially give the body an alternative route to nitric oxide production when the enzyme pathway has slowed down. The key insight from recent research is that this conversion is dramatically enhanced when combined with deep diaphragmatic breathing, specifically slow nasal breathing that activates the paranasal sinuses. The sinuses themselves produce nitric oxide and contribute directly to circulatory regulation. Nasal breathing during and after nitrate consumption creates a synergistic vascular effect that neither intervention produces alone. Here is the specific protocol. Dissolve 1 teaspoon of beetroot powder into a glass of room temperature water with a pinch of sea salt. Stir well. Drink it slowly over 5 minutes. Immediately after drinking, perform 5 cycles of slow nasal breathing. Inhale through the nose for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 2. Exhale through the nose for a count of 6. Repeat 5 times. That is approximately 2 minutes of breathing. A study published in the journal Hypertension found that dietary nitrate supplementation via beetroot reduced blood pressure and improved peripheral blood flow within 2.5 hours in older adults. When combined with slow nasal breathing, documented in separate research to increase nasal nitric oxide output by up to 15 times compared to mouth breathing, the combined vascular effect is substantially greater than either approach alone. The timing for maximum effect is 30 minutes before physical activity or in the mid-afternoon, typically between 2 and 4 o'clock, when circulation naturally dips and fatigue tends to peak in seniors. You do not need expensive beetroot juice products. A bag of beetroot powder costs a few dollars and lasts weeks. The breathing takes 2 minutes. The combined effect on peripheral circulation, in the hands, feet, and brain, is measurable within 30 minutes. This is trick number 1. And when you pair it consistently with tricks 4 and 2, mineral water daily and the morning lemon ginger protocol, the cumulative vascular effect is something most patients describe as genuinely life-changing within 4 to 6 weeks. Which of these 5 tricks are you going to try first? Tell me in the comments right now. And if you currently drink water all day but still deal with cold hands, heavy legs, or afternoon energy crashes, type your symptoms. I want to know what you are dealing with because that shapes exactly what I cover next. Let me bring this all together clearly so you leave with a complete picture. 5 hydration strategies, ranked by their impact on blood flow in adults over 50. Number 5. Room temperature water, timed 15 minutes before any activity. Removes the vasoconstrictive effect of cold water and maximizes plasma volume expansion when you need it most. Number 4. Mineral-enhanced water with a pinch of sea salt or a slice of lemon every day. Replaces the electrolytes that plain water dilutes and restores the vascular signaling your vessels depend on. Number 3. Hibiscus-infused water, 1 to 2 glasses per day at room temperature. Directly stimulates endothelial nitric oxide production through anthocyanins, the mechanism aging compromises and that plain water cannot address. Number 2. Morning warm water with lemon and ginger within 10 minutes of waking. Targets the highest risk window of the circulatory day, reducing blood viscosity, supporting platelet health and activating nitric oxide synthesis before cortisol peaks. Number 1. Beetroot water with slow nasal breathing, 30 minutes before activity or during the mid-afternoon dip. The dual pathway nitric oxide protocol that produces the most powerful and fastest-acting vascular response of all 5 strategies. Start with whichever one feels most accessible. One change applied consistently is worth far more than 5 changes attempted once and abandoned. If the only thing you do after watching this video is switch from cold to room temperature water and add a pinch of sea salt, you have already changed the functional hydration equation in your body. That is a real start. Here is the gap that frustrates me most in senior healthcare. The information I have shared today exists in published research. The studies are real. The mechanisms are documented. But the 15-minute clinical appointment is not structured to explain the difference between volumetric hydration and functional vascular hydration to an older adult dealing with cold hands and afternoon fatigue. So most seniors never hear it. That is what this channel is for. The conversations that do not fit inside a standard appointment, but that change how you feel every single day when you finally have them. I have seen patients report that their cold hands and feet, which had been present for years and dismissed as just circulation, resolved within weeks of combining tricks 4 and 2, not because anything dramatic changed, because the right signals finally reached their vascular system consistently. Your circulation is carrying oxygen and nutrients to every cell in your body every second of every day. Give it the right signals, and it will respond. One important note before you go. Everything shared in this video is general educational information based on published research in hydration science, vascular physiology, and exercise medicine. It is not a substitute for personal medical advice. If you are currently managing hypertension, kidney disease, heart failure, or any condition that requires fluid or electrolyte management, please speak with your physician before making changes to your hydration habits. They know your specific situation. This is a starting point for that conversation, not a replacement for it. If this video gave you something useful, share it with someone you know who drinks water all day and still struggles with fatigue, cold extremities, or brain fog. They deserve to know that the answer may be this simple. Subscribe for more honest, research-grounded conversations about what your body needs after 60. I'm Dr. Markus Dexter. Take care of your circulation. I will see you in the next one.